Hey everybody, hey, welcome back to the 53206 cast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Meg.
And Meg.
Yeah.
This is a podcast.
It is.
This is a podcast specifically designed to help the listener engage in the process of rethinking our inner city spaces. Meg and I have lived in the inner city of Milwaukee for the last, it's really coming up.
Really?
20 years.
Yeah, coming up. I think May.
20-year anniversary.
Yeah,
yep.
May is the
end of May.
time. End of May.
I don't remember the date. But, yeah, it's coming up. Been living in inner city Milwaukee for about 20 years, like I said. 53206, which is the zip code we live in, is a poorest zip code in the state of Wisconsin and is very different than where Meg is from.
Yeah, and Alex is from.
Yep. Meg,
yeah.
You wanted to do a podcast today. It's getting warm out.
It is getting warm out, and it's so nice to go outside and not be cold.
It is. It's going to take a little while for me to go outside and not be cold.
That's
I just
true.
get cold.
Yeah.
But when it gets warm out, people come back outside.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So there's been a couple of times where I'll go for a run. You know, maybe like on the weekend, maybe I'll go at like 9
instead of at like 5.
45.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I go at 9, you know, people are out.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes.
Sure. Yeah.
But now that it's warm out, you know, you see people. You haven't seen them since it got cold out.
I know. I feel like it's so fun to like see people and be like, "Oh my gosh, how you been? Like I forgot about you, and now you're back."
It's been 4 months. How are you?
Yeah.
So that happened to you.
Yeah. So I was at the flower farm, and the flower farm at We Got This has a few things that are starting to come back. So
really?
Yeah, I didn't know that feverfew, which is a flower, comes back. So
okay.
I was kind of over there just
I hear you say feverfew often, but I have no idea.
It's really pretty
flower
flowers. It's like they're these little itty bitty daisies that are like the size of like your thumb.
Okay.
And they're really good fillers. So in a flower bouquet, it's like good to have, you know, obviously you want like nice like a dahlia, zinnia.
A big one.
Big sunflower.
You want some big ones and some small ones.
Yeah, exactly.
And these are the small ones?
These are the small ones,
okay.
Yeah. And they're just really pretty, and I didn't realize they came back every year. So I'm kind of trying to determine like how many I need for this year, you know,
so they're,
seed starting.
An annual?
Yeah, I know.
Or a perennial?
I still don't know, and I'm like, that's really bad. I should.
Wait, you are?
I am a master gardener. I feel like I'm always like, because it could go either way. You annually plant them, or annually they come back.
Right, but then somebody will tell us, well, it's that you have to plant them annually, or that you have to, or that they will be there annually, and then it's just,
this is
it's
my
not
homework.
Gonna work.
Okay, so
you're over at the flower farm.
I was over at the flower farm, and actually I was using my skills that Jan taught me about pruning. Yeah, pruning orchards, fruit trees. And so I had a few people that came up to me and they were like, "What are you doing?" And so it was really fun to tell them, like, you know, a tree needs airflow. And so you really want to try to, when you're trying to cut a fruit tree, you're trying to like just make sure that it has airflow. And so you're trying to make sure that any of the branches that are going into the tree aren't there. So you're actually cutting out a lot of the inside of the tree.
Oh, okay.
So I was over there, and so I was talking to a few people, and then this one guy comes up, and I hadn't seen him in forever. It was actually really funny because he was like, "I'm sorry, we've talked to each other so many times, and I still don't know your name." And I was like, "I don't know your name either." And so we finally got each other's names, and I'm going to just call him Frank for this podcast.
Okay.
And so Frank is the type of guy, he's super jolly. He's always smiling. He's always like in a somewhat good mood. And that may be because he's always drunk.
Okay.
And, you know, I love this guy, Frank. Like, I feel like, you know, I talked to him. I talked to his wife. He's always like, "How's your husband? What's your husband's name?" You know, he's so jolly. And so, you know, we're just kind of catching up a little bit. And we probably didn't talk for more than 10 minutes. And he really got deep pretty fast. You know, I was like, you know, "Frank, you look so good. Like, you look like you're happy. You look like you're doing well." And he's like, "I'm not." And he kind of went into that his sons just got arrested. His wife was just at the courthouse. He went into talking about how, like, you know, just how him and his wife aren't doing well. And I'm like, well, if your sons are if your sons are doing well, that would be pretty hard. And then we actually talked a little bit about, so we were over at the flower farm, and the flower farm is right next to the house, the burnt down house. And that just got demolished. So we were talking a little bit about what, you know, I was like, what should go there? And so we talked about the woman who died,
Mm-hmm.
and he talked a lot about like the family of the woman who died. Elaine
Okay.
was the woman who died. And so he was talking a lot about Elaine's family and how Elaine's family, you know, how they felt and how they tried to get her out. It was a house fire. And it was all just this really hard stuff. And, you know, I kind of, it stayed with me. It really stayed with me. You know, he talked a lot about his boys and how he just wished they weren't in jail. He wished that situation was different. He just had a lot of hard things to say. And it, like, reflecting back on it, because to be honest, I feel like I just keep thinking about him. And I really just wanted, like, I wanted just to kind of start a discussion about how hard it is to live here, but how, and I feel like I don't want to say this wrong, but I probably am, like, how, like, he's like I said, he's always drunk. Like, every time I see him, he's always drunk. And, like, I feel like when I used to see people on porches that were drinking, or when I used to just see people throw bottles, you know, a fifth of a bottle, I don't know what they call it, but a fifth of a bottle of gin or whatever, onto the ground. Like, you don't know their story, and you don't know what they're going through, and you don't know what they've been through. And I don't know this Frank guy real well. Like, I've seen him probably for the last 5 years, you know, at least once a month. So in the warmer months.
Sure.
But I think it's just like a good reminder that we don't know where people have been. We don't know their past. We don't know what has happened on that day. And you know, people have hard, they go through really hard things. And I think around here, you think about the incarceration rate, you know, of black men in 5 through 206 is half. So half,
Yeah,
you know,
have been at some point. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Incarcerated.
Yep. Yeah. And you know, like, I think we've said this before on the podcast, that it's harder to live around here. And I think you hear these stories and you hear what people are going through, and there's not any quick solutions. There's not any quick answers, but it's just, it's good for us to have empathy. And that's where I wanted to get started.
Well, yeah. And I think the concept of multiple things being true at the same time is I think an important one to remember, especially thinking through your story and your interaction. Sure,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Frank.
Frank.
That's what we're
Yeah.
calling it. Frank.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
was thinking Frank the Tank.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. I mean, the concept that two things can be true at the same time, I think, is directly applies to this particular situation. So, yeah, you know, Frank may end up not always making a great choice in terms of, you know, how intoxicated Frank chooses to be at any given moment. But you also then have to immediately couple that with, you know, do I make great decisions every single moment of every single day? And of course I don't. You know, obviously nobody does, right? And so you're constantly straddling those two worlds that, you know, we all have individual autonomy and we all can make whatever decisions we want to make. But then at the same time, you know, from my experience for living here for right around 20 years, you are correct, Meg. It is more challenging, either just because, you know, as a young person, so maybe, you know, if we're going to reference, I don't know the situation with his sons.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. I'm not even going to really make a guess as to what happened or what took place. But you are in much higher proximity, or you have a much more likely of a chance to be around something living here that could get you in trouble if you decided that was what you were going to be a part of. Meg, I've been really thinking a lot about jobs for 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
And we've got a set of neighbors, and I'm not going to throw any shade on the neighbors. But I do kind of notice, you know, I have a very, I don't want to call it strict, but I have like I have a routine. I have a schedule.
Okay. I was going to say you work more than anybody I know. I don't know if you're pulling out that card too.
No.
You work way more than me.
And I mean, I maybe I would. Thank you for bringing that up. That's very nice of you to say.
Yeah.
But maybe
sometimes it's exhausting to me, so I don't know that it's always a plus.
But I bring that up. I bring that up because in reference to straddling both worlds. That I do work a lot, and I know that many of the things that I have are a direct result of working, as much as I have chosen to do. But where I was really going with that was I have a pretty structured schedule throughout the week. I'm running at the same time basically every day, and I'm leaving at the same time basically every day, and I'm returning back to the house, at the same time, or whatever.
Yeah.
But where I was going with that is, I this one neighbor in particular, I don't really see that person leaving for work ever, and I don't really see that person taking care of his of the place where he lives, and it would be really really easy to judge that person.
Yeah.
And they're pretty young.
Yeah.
But when I think about what is easily accessible to you as a 22-year-old, I kind of think the lifestyle that this guy has chosen to take is easily accessible to him. And I know that there have been times in my life where I wanted to take the thing that was easily accessible. It's just that the thing that was easily accessible was, go to college.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
kind of like,
you for sure.
That was the easiest and clearest path was we'll just sign up and start taking classes and you'll figure it out when you're in the middle of it. Right. Now, I sincerely doubt that was easily and accessible to him. We had Amos on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I just think that's not every kid in the neighborhood's story, but that's the story for a lot of young people and every adult that you see. I don't know if you realize this, Meg, they used to be a child.
They did.
And they came into the world under the care of other people that used to be children. I'm sorry.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
So I feel like you reminded me of a neighbor that we had that was very similar, and he would actually keep us up at night because he would play his music.
Lots of bass.
I would actually have anxiety, and the kids were little, so I was still waking up from the kids.
Right, you're not waking up you're not sleeping through the night.
Yeah,
neither of us are really sleeping.
I was waking up from him, and it's so interesting because the more we learned about his family, the more we learned about him, the more, so he would just sit out at 2, 3 in the morning and just play his bass super, super loud. And turns out a few months before that, he was...
Yeah, at some point prior to playing was in a pretty serious accident.
Really bad.
Pretty traumatic brain injury.
Yeah, he was beat up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I feel like you learn that and you're like, well, wow, I didn't... now you feel like a jackass for
I think the appropriate response, and yes, I felt like that also, I'm such a jerk for thinking this way.
Yeah.
But I do think if you can entertain the possibility that two things could be true at the same time, it's really annoying that this person does whatever this thing is,
Yeah.
And maybe in reference to Frank and his situation, I mean, you shouldn't do illegal things and not expect to get caught doing illegal things. Whether I don't know what happened with the sons, but but then at the same time, you can sort of make it's fairly easy to make the connection that if many of your peers are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and you don't see an option to do something outside of that it would be easy for you to choose the path of least resistance, which for many young people in our neighborhood, it's not a personally beneficial path for them.
Yeah.
And because of that, then, they make decisions that aren't in their best interest.
Yeah.
And you end up in a situation where, you get in trouble for something.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I think what I've learned is it's hard for the whole community. The whole community has to live with those types of situations, is a part of it. Yeah. And I think that's something that I didn't, before living here, I didn't realize that, and it's not even I'm invested in Frank's life, but he dropped this bombshell on me and I couldn't stop thinking about it all night. And just, I felt like he left a piece of that on me, which is okay. I'm happy to, take some of that load for the community. But if everybody has stories like that and everyone's, dealing with with these stories, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. Meg, I was out running one of the days, and it was a weekend, and so it was a little later, and so I happened to run into one of our, I guess you call them, it's a couple blocks down the street, but somebody who I would consider to be a neighbor, and I had never actually talked to this guy before, except waving,
and
but he's got a real nice yard, and so
I love him.
I know you love a good yard. And lives in a house that's a little newer, which I'm just always interested in. Like, well, how did this?
And by newer, like
built in the 70s. Okay. So it's 50 years old. 50 compared to 100 is different.
And I feel like I wanted to caveat that because like how much new construction has
Not
been done
much.
in our neighborhood?
Yeah,
None.
I don't know of any new construction that's been done not as a charity.
Yeah. But even Habitat homes, like there's none.
It's that's a charity.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Like they receive. I'm not an expert in Habitat, but they receive funding to build the houses, right? So it's no economic development or very little economic development that happened naturally or organically.
Yeah.
But I was talking to him, and he had he had a lot of ideas and a lot of thoughts, and told me all of his ideas and all of his thoughts.
Love that. And he's a big gardener. I feel like I should maybe.
Yeah, he likes to take care of his stuff, which I love.
Yeah,
love that.
Yeah.
He had a lot of ideas, and I don't know. I don't think he was intending on telling me all of his ideas, and so maybe they weren't. Maybe they were coming out a little jumbled. Maybe.
Yeah.
And it was fine. It was great. I really, 100% enjoyed my conversation with him. Even whatever, I enjoyed it. But one of the things, and this is why I wanted to bring this up, one of the things that he mentioned was one of the things that we talk about all the time. I don't even think I talked about this, Meg. He was saying that his thoughts on the advancement of the neighborhood really boiled down to helping young people acclimate. Probably isn't the right word, but to very, very loosely paraphrase what he was saying was that there's too high a concentration of the bad things going on to allow a kid to be acclimated to many of the good things that exist in life.
Oh, wow. That's really insightful.
Yeah, and I'm paraphrasing
yeah.
and maybe paraphrasing a little bit in a way that would be how I would describe it. But it was very interesting. This man's in his 70s and has lived in the community the vast majority of his life. And it really sees the same thing that I've seen in the last 20 years, and Meg, that you've seen in the last 20 years, that when it's kind of, when the story is very similar all around you, it's easy to be a part of that story. And when it's not all around you, it's more challenging. So like the story when I was in high school was you go to college. I just remember like a graduation, or it probably wasn't at graduation, probably graduation practice.
Okay.
So, you go, everybody lines up probably in the gym, I'm thinking. I don't even remember. Yeah, it must have been in the gym. So we all like sit down in the gym, and they're like going through and saying the amount of scholarships that everyone had gotten.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it was kind of neat.
How many people graduated?
Like 300 or 400,
and
something
they
like that.
went through every single person?
I don't remember.
Okay, sure.
But I remember my scholarship amount was said out loud.
Yeah.
And it was.
Was it shaming all the people like me who didn't get scholarships?
No. But and then they mentioned like, I don't remember the number, but like, say if there was 400 of us, 200 of us were signed up for a 4-year university. 100 of us were signed up to go to MATC or Elgin Community College. Or whatever, whatever the McHenry County Technical College, whatever. So I just remember that like it was natural and normal that was what
a higher percentage of people went on to some sort of schooling.
Yeah, that was kind of like the implied next step, which you can make some arguments that maybe that's not the best next step for everybody for sure. I don't actually think it is, but that was the norm.
Back
and
back
I mean I think what they were trying to shoot for is that there was a plan. Like you had a plan when you left high school for the next thing that you were going to do, and that next thing that you were going to do would be something that would predictably get you to be able to sustain yourself as an adult when you're 22.
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But I know that is not the norm in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And when I worked at the alternative school, that was not the norm for that subset of the population. The subset of the norm was, it's great if you graduate high school.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was the end result. And we've got a lot of people that, if you're random 22-year-old right now, like if you lived and that was your norm, what you would have to go outside of your social norms to find something that is going to be of benefit to you in the long run. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you mention, it's harder living here. I think that you have to be very intentional with your children or the young people that you're around. That's why we're so like crazy intentional about it. We got this is you've got to be intentional about telling the kids, there's a lot. Yes, finish high school. That's great. But then like we got to be ready for when you're 19, 20, 21, 22 so that when you're 35, you've been doing something for 10 years and you can pay your rent, or you can own a house, or you can do all of these other things that are probably in your best interest in the long run because you want to have certain things to come out of your life, and those certain things are probably pretty good for you.
And good for the community, and good for good to uplift everyone everywhere. Yeah.
Anything else? We're probably about time to wrap up here. Do you want to plug something?
I do want to plug something. So it's going to be gardening season soon, and if you're in the area, Weber's Greenhouse is an incredible greenhouse that has great veggies, has great flowers. And one of the things I love about them is that they work with Teens That Grow Greens. And Teens That Grow Greens is an internship for kids in Milwaukee to learn how to grow things. And so it's a wonderful, like if you already want tomatoes, you already want peppers, go to Weber's, get those, and then you'll be supporting kids you'll be supporting a kid's internship, which is just a win-win-win.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful, wonderful place, wonderful opportunity. And just great stuff.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say about that.
Yeah. Good.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.